welcome back for another week. We're super excited to be back with you. And we wanted to recap from last week. We talked about routine, and what we realized is that within all of our routines, we were talking about a life of prayer.
Whoops. We didn't do that on purpose.
Nope, we didn't, but we're excited because now we get to talk to you about our prayer life. Maggie, when I say prayer life, what am I talking about?
Prayer life. I'm guessing that you mean it's your everyday communication with God.
Oh yeah, that was it.
So prayer life was something that I was extremely stubborn with just a couple of years ago. So when I came into college, I met a group of young Catholics my age who were on fire for their faith. And of course I wanted that, and I realized that the only thing that they were doing and I wasn't was praying every day. Because I thought for so many years that I was the exception, that I didn't have to pray every day and I could still have a great relationship with God. But in reality, if you don't see a friend every day or if you don't talk to a friend every day, how good is your relationship with that friend? And so finally I realized, if I start praying every day, then maybe I'm going to live with the same joy that they're living with. And so I realized that being a Christian involves praying every day, which actually isn't the normal way of life compared to the world, but Jesus calls us to live separate to the world. So, David, what do you think about praying every day?
I was so frustrated with myself when I started trying to pray because I wouldn't actually give God a real chance to show me himself and to show that he wanted to talk to me, because I never gave a big enough commitment to him. I would sometimes give him 5 minutes in the morning, but most mornings I wouldn't give him any time at all. So I got tired of that after a few years, and I decided I'm going to set a timer every morning, and I would set a 30-minute timer and sit there and try to pray, even if it didn't seem like anything was working, until the timer went off. And after a few months of doing that, I realized that I was actually starting to hear God say things to me, and I was starting to think things that I didn't think on my own before I had given him this time, like significant amount of time every morning. And honestly, just giving him a real commitment and a real gift of my time was what took my prayer life to the next level.
That's amazing. Katie, what do you think about praying every day?
What I think about praying every day is, for a while I was just like, why do it? I was like, I see that it's good, kind of what you're talking about. Like, I understand prayer is good. I don't really understand why I should like rearrange my whole schedule for this. So for like 4 years I was kind of in this like half in, half out mentality. And then I was like, do you know what? I'm going to go all in. And one of the things I was frustrated with my half in, half out was like I felt like I wasn't really hearing God, or I felt like there wasn't really like anything happening in my prayer life.
Kind of like with David.
So because of that, my good friend Maggie one time told me that if you're reading scripture, then you're hearing the voice of God. And so I was like, all right, if Maggie says it, it must be true. So I went...
No pressure, don't worry.
That is so nice. Okay.
And so I was like, I'm going to go for it. And so the first book that I read when I started reading scripture was Hebrews. And when I first read it, it made no sense to me. And I was like, what the heck? But I kept going. And I think that's the most important thing is like David, like I kept going. And then so I'm at the point now where like I love reading scripture and I love the word and I love hearing the voice of God through the word, that when I read Hebrews, I finally went back to it this past summer after like not turning to it for 2 years because I was so just like scarred for whatever reason. And I went back to it and it was like seeing color for the first time in a black and white world.
Have you ever seen those videos on YouTube of the colorblind people who put on those like special glasses?
She literally loves
it makes sense. So they put on these special glasses where it allows colorblind people to see color for the first time. And if you watch one, I promise you will get emotional. Maybe not. I get emotional every time because I think about my life before Jesus. Mm-hmm. And when I just like asked for the gift of faith in my life and I fell in love with Jesus, it was like seeing color for the first time.
Yeah.
That's what she's talking about with scripture.
Yeah, that's what it was like when I went back to Hebrews this summer. I was just like entranced by like all the goodness within Hebrews that I was just like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't recommend starting with Hebrews, probably not.
Probably the Gospels. The Gospels are always a great place to start.
So good. I did not start with the Gospels. I went to the Gospels after Hebrew. I went straight to the Gospel of John.
Perfect.
But I'm at the point where Hebrews is like so beautiful and hitting my heart in a really cool way right now. So Maggie, what is our call on for the staff?
Staff, I'd like you to sit down sometime this week and ask yourselves 2 questions. First question, do I pray? Just ask yourself that question. Second question is, why do I pray? So take some time this week, maybe 5 minutes, 10 minutes, sit down in silence and ask yourself those 2 questions. Until then, we will see you next week. See ya.